Good evening. The Planning and Zoning Commission meeting Wednesday, May 11th, 2022 is called to order. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the Secretary note the roll?
Commissioner Hamilton is present. Commissioner Hegedus is present. Commissioner Booth is present. Vice Chairman Clymer is present. Chairman Kish is present. Commissioner Wang is on the phone. Commissioner Sambito is absent. We have a quorum.
At this time, I'd like to take a vote to excuse Commissioner Sambito from attendance today. Do I hear a motion?
I so move.
All in favor? Oh,
I second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 1 is to approve the draft minutes of the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting held on April 6th. Do I hear a motion?
I move to approve the draft minutes, April 6th.
I have a motion from Commissioner Hamilton.
Second.
I have a second from Commissioner Clymer. All opposed? I'm all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Now it's time for citizens who would like to address the Planning and Zoning Commission on any non-agenda items. Are there any speaker cards? This is an opportunity for commission members to disclose any ex parte communications they may have heard prior to this meeting on any item scheduled for discussion on this agenda. Are there any discussions?
No. None.
Seeing none, let's move on to business. It has been requested by the staff that agenda item number 6 to be presented first. No action is to be taken on this item. Is there any objection from the commission on moving this item up? Diana Vasquez and their outside consultant will present an update on the Parks and Recreation Master Plan.
Thank you, Chairman Kish, members of the Commission. My name is David Seid, Deputy Director in the Parks and Recreation Department. Very excited to be before you tonight to provide an update on our 2022 Master Plan update. So to just kind of set the stage for tonight's presentation, I do want to tell a little bit about the importance of the Parks Master Plan and how it impacts the city of Goodyear. The 2014 Master Plan went through a similar public process and identified needs and wants of the community and the residents, and was very influential and really set the stage for the new recreation campus, our newest community park that recently opened on Estrella Parkway there just south of Harrison. So that kind of gives you an idea of the importance. It does a number of things. It identifies needs, wants of the community as far as recreation facilities, programs, special events, and just a number of things Parks and Recreation related. So with details on this effort that's currently underway, I'm going to go ahead and toss it over to Project Manager Diana Vasquez, and I'll let her take it away.
Thank you, David. So what you see here in front of you is what we are calling the sausage. So this is our game plan. This is how we're going to get from point A to point B. So I know this is really small and it's not expected that you read this information, but this is a very robust public engagement plan. We are already engaging in focus group sessions with user groups, for instance, pickleball, BMX riders, trail groups. We've already completed public meeting number 1. We've got 3 more coming up, as well as 2 virtual meetings. Those can all be found on the website, and I'll give you that information at the end. But ultimately, all of this compiles and rolls up into a City Council adopted master plan that will happen in December. So this plan is moving very fast, but these are kind of all those facets that go into it. So the Goodyear game plan, it's got a focus, and that focus is truly community driven. As you could see from that previous slide, the multiple public inputs are just, they're too many to even count. So with that being said, you know, this is very community driven. The focus is high-quality parks and recreation amenities. The citizen surveys continue to show that that is what the residents want. Trails, we hear a lot about trails and wanting more connectivity, so that's going to be a focus of the plan as well. Community wellness and even sustainable maintenance practices, taking a look at what we're doing and making sure that that is the best practice. So administration, taking a look at our organizational chart and making sure that there's no areas that we could improve. Partnerships, looking at opportunities that we could partner with other agencies to get the best bang for the buck with the residents. And also future facilities. So as you guys are aware, Goodyear is growing like crazy. We want to make sure that we can meet that demand for the next 10 years. So our process right now, we are in the overview process of the project introduction. Next, we'll be doing a needs assessment where we'll evaluate our current amenities and programs. That will ultimately lead to technical assessments, what we need, an implementation plan of how we're going to get there, and then the system-wide development plan, again, is what will be taken to council in December. So we did talk about that community outreach plan. Here's just a sample of some of the groups that we've reached out to or that we will be reaching out to. You guys are on that list as well, so we wanted to make sure to get this project in front of you so you could help to spread that word with the constituents. Steve, do you have those business cards? Perfect. So Alyssa has some business cards, and I'll go ahead and talk about those in a minute. But we have already done 4 community engagement sessions. We were out at Lakeside Music Fest, Hop and Hops, Youth Soccer, and Little League. And those events were crazy busy. So Lakeside Music Fest was the very first time we were put in front of the public. We had 148 website visits just on that event alone. Hop and Hops, you'll notice also, you can't even see the images on the boards because we had so many participants telling us exactly what they wanted in their Parks and Recreation backyard. So we have completed public meeting number 1. We've got 3 more upcoming, and again, 2 more virtual meetings. And all that information can be found on the project website. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up, and then Alyssa has some cards for you guys. I actually have a stack for each of you. If you don't mind taking them, handing them out, if you run out, get with Alyssa. We can get you some more, but any help that you guys can provide in making sure that we can spread the word would be appreciated. So here's the website. We've got the Goodyear Game Plan tagline. This is kind of going to follow us through the entire process. People can subscribe to the email blast list. They can complete a survey. Like you guys just saw, here's our mission and our values. If we kind of keep scrolling down, there's our playbook. You'll notice everything kind of has that sports theme, so we wanted to kind of tie it all together with Parks and Recreation. Get in the game. So here is where you can find information on our upcoming virtual meetings, and you'll notice they flip, and they've got more information behind the backside. If you scroll down a little bit farther, you're going to come to the previous community outreach. They're blue. But if you weren't able to attend a meeting, you can come here and you can actually click on the summary, and it will show you exactly what we learned from that specific meeting. So I would encourage all of you guys, if you have a moment, please check out the website. There's a lot of great information on there. And then with that, my contact information will be on the screen in a minute. There we go. There's my contact information. If you do go to the website, fill out the survey, it can ask you specifically what you want in Parks and Recreation. If you pass out those cards, the QR code can be scanned on the back. Very easy. Great tool to talk to the people in your community. So thank you so much. And I'd like to open it up for any questions.
Thank you, Diana. Are there any questions from Commission?
Sounds exciting. I'm ready for it.
Very
We're going to
exciting.
get all this done by the end of December.
It is a very tight timeline.
All right.
We got this.
Okay. All right.
Absolutely.
I know for sure I filled out my survey, and it was a lot of fun to do so. So,
Nice.
yeah, there's a lot of data out there to be collected. And it looks like you guys are already off to a great start. So, well done.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. The next item up on the agenda is agenda item number 2 is the rezone for Camelback 303 industrial and for Camelback Cotton industrial. So we're going to combine 2 items, have 2 official meetings, but we're going to have kind of everything discussed by Karen in one presentation. Karen, it's your show.
Thank
you
could
very much.
Open the public hearing.
And thanks for allowing this to happen. I thought maybe you would
not want to have two of the same staff reports presented to you, and I didn't want to write two, so thank you very much. Throughout the staff report, I mentioned Site 1 and Site 2. That is because we have these two cases in one report and in this presentation. The Site 1 is west of the State 303 corridor. It's 19 acres on the south side of Camelback Road and west of Cotton Lane. It was zoned I-1 light industrial and C2 general commercial with a PAD overlay in 2006. And the planned Camelback 303 Commerce Park that was to develop there did not develop. And before I switch to the next slide, I need to tell you that in the summary and the recommendation on my staff report, on the first page of the staff report, I did not mention that it was zoned half light industrial and half C2 general commercial. I left out the light industrial, so my apologies for that. Site 2 is right next door. It's 18 acres at the southwest corner of Camelback Road and Cotton Lane. It was zoned PAD for commercial and business park uses in 2010. And again, the planned Cotton Camel Center on that property did not develop either. And this just shows you the two sites right next to each other there on the south side of Camelback Road. So 2 rezones, 1 staff report. They're presented and discussed that way because they're contiguous and approximately the same size. They're both requesting a rezone to I-1 light industrial. The general plan land use designations of business and commerce and industrial both allow light industrial development. They are both being represented by attorney Wendy Riddell, and they both engage the same architectural firm, DLR Group, to develop some conceptual site plans. So it seemed like let's take care of this all at once if we can. And this is the Site 1 conceptual site plan. As you can see by the square footages of 153,000 square feet, these are small buildings compared to what is up in the PB 303 area now. And they also allow for dock doors and trailer parking to occur on the interior of the sites because they're longer and narrower sites. And Site 2, pretty much the same, just even smaller buildings this time. And this site would also have access onto Cotton as well as Camelback. And the architect provided some architecture examples of what buildings up here may look like. They're very much in keeping with the colors and materials and the architectural style of other buildings around it within the PV 303 area. Oops, and one more there. And with going to light industrial zoning, one of our specific hard zoning districts, there will be certain development and screening standards that any project that occurs on these properties will have to adhere to. You know, their maximums as far as building coverage and building height. There's significant setbacks with landscaping that will have to occur on whatever develops on this property. And then the screening standards. No building can be closer than 100 feet from residential property. The 10-foot wide landscape strip on the side property lines also have to have 1 tree every linear feet. And the front setbacks also would have a significant amount of landscaping. An 8-foot wall is required adjacent to any planned residential development or existing development. And those loading and delivery and roll-up dock doors, should they occur on a project, need to be screened from public streets and residential. And so we went through our standard public participation process. We notified owners of all properties within 500 feet of these 2 properties. We had no inquiries received. No property owners attended our citizen review meeting on April 26th. Those same owners were notified of this public hearing tonight and the upcoming city council public hearing. Subject properties were both posted on Camelback and on Cotton, and a legal ad appeared in the paper, and still we've had no inquiries about the rezones. And so using the zoning ordinance criteria to evaluate rezones, we found that the rezones promote continued and orderly growth and development in conformance with the area and what has already happened there, and with the city's general plan, zoning ordinance, design guidelines, and engineering standards. And we ask that the Planning Commission vote to recommend approval of the rezones by the City Council. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have of me. And Wendy Riddell, representing the property owners, is here as well.
Are there any questions from staff?
No, and there was no inquiries whatsoever. So you've done your due diligence for that, so that's all taken care of. That's so.
Thank you.
I have no questions.
Would the applicant like to address?
Mr. Chair, Commission members, Wendy Riddell with the law firm Barry Riddell here, both on behalf of Scottsdale Investment Management and Via West. I have a presentation, but honestly, Karen has done a great job. We're in agreement with everything that she has said. We're in agreement with all of the stipulations, so it's really at your pleasure. I'm otherwise happy to just answer any questions and sit back down. So you tell me.
Are there any questions for the applicant?
No questions.
I had just one. Can you go back to the different elevations? If we have choices, I don't know. If we, the second one, the one with the bright red kind of those bump outs, I feel like that's more attractive, but I'm used to seeing going down Bullard now and seeing very modern architecture with different elevations and different colors. I think that's a little bit more, visually appealing than the brown kind of blending into the desert. But
Honestly, the input's very helpful, so thank you.
What's that?
That's helpful input, thank you.
Oh, awesome, good. All right. Are there any speaker cards? Okay. Would anybody in the audience like to speak on this issue? Is that a hand I saw? Oh, okay. I'm going to close the public hearing. And may I have a motion in a second on item number 21-200-00019?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the request to rezone.
I second.
I have a motion by Vice Chairman Clymer and a second by Chairman Booth. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right. I'm going to open a public hearing on item number 21-200-0001. This is already been presented by Karen. The second location. There are no speaker cards. Would anybody in the audience like to speak on this item? Okay. I'm going to close the public hearing. And may I have another motion and second for this agenda item number?
A motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Booth and a second from Commissioner Clymer. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
I keep forgetting you, Commissioner Wang. I apologize. Motion carries.
It's okay. That's fine.
Agenda item number 3 is the general plan amendment for NEC Cotton and Van Buren. I will open the public hearing. Senior Planner Christian Williams will present.
Mr. Chairman, just while Christian's getting set, if I can just make a point of order on your votes, just if you would keep in mind that the commission is recommending approval to council of actions. You're not actually approving them. because you all are our recommendation body when it comes to the rezoning cases. So just a point of clarification for your motions moving forward.
Thank you.
We don't want to unintentionally mislead any members of the public that this is the final decision.
Of course.
Thank you
I'll
very
make
much.
sure to make sure my wording is correct.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Commissioner Kish. I almost called you Councilmember Kish. Commissioner Kish and Planning and Zoning Commission. You got me all confused.
Uh-oh.
My name is Christian Williams, Senior Planner here with City of Goodyear, and I'm here before you this evening with 2 requests from Andy Jokums. And one of this is to conduct a minor general plan amendment on 31 acres of property within the city, and the other is to conduct a rezoning on that same piece of 31-acre property within the city. So I've prepared a presentation for both of those cases. The overall property we are discussing today, again, is 31 acres. It is located in central Goodyear in the Canyon Trails neighborhood. It is at the northeast corner of Cotton Lane and Van Buren, which is also the Arizona State Route 303 loop. Property is within the general plan land use category of business and commerce. I'll touch on this a little bit later in a couple slides. And the property is also currently zoned within Canyon Trails Phase 1 PAD with an underlying land use of commercial. The overall property is located in this box right here with the star. Zooming in a little closer, you can see the property is in red right here. And the parcel is south of a vacant portion of Canyon Trails, which is zoned MF12. It is north of Van Buren Street and a vacant parcel zoned MF24, which was a case you heard back in September, Estrella Springs to Sun Crest Vista. It is west of the Canyon Trails Greenbelt and Canyon Trails single family residential, as well as some condominium products here. And it is east of the Loop 303, as well as an RID well facility right here. And then on the west side of the freeway is a large piece of state trust land. As a note, this is not within the Luke Air Force DNL or noise area. The first request of the applicant is a minor general plan amendment for the northeast corner of Cotton Lane and Van Buren Street. The applicant is requesting to take the general plan land use category from business and commerce and transition that to neighborhoods. The village center overlay will remain. And the purpose of this request is business and commerce allows multifamily, or it allows residential, but it has to have a high density of about comparable with MF18 or greater. It also allows commercial and, in some cases, business park type uses. The applicant will request to have lower intensity residential uses aligned with our MF12s, which would not be permitted traditionally in the business and commerce area. For a little history on the Canyon Trails zoning, and I'll abbreviate this a bit. Some of you haven't heard this yet, though. So in 1999, the map, which is in the middle, the part of the project that zoned Canyon Trails Phase 1 is this section right here. And what we're talking about today is this underlying zoning of commercial. Another note is that in 2005, I'll point out that the zoning for this area of Canyon Trails grew for the Canyon Trails Town Center. That incorporated 91 acres of commercial that had previously been commercial multifamily, townhouses, court homes, and single family, took that entire area and made it 91 acres of commercial. And you'll recall back in September of 2021, 12.7 of those acres became the Canyon Trails Town Center residences to make that a mixed-use center. That means approximately 78 acres of commercial remain in that center. About 300,000 square feet of that center remains vacant and ready to develop. We're actually getting development calls today about that, so that is awesome. And today's proposal is to rezone the 31 acres of commercial at Van Buren Street and Cotton Lane to MF12 with a PAD overlay to create a multifamily development. Also, again, many of you have previously asked about how much commercial do we have remaining in Canyon Trails with all of these rezones. Excluding the original 19 acres that ADOT took up for the freeway, there was 146 acres of commercial planned back in Canyon Trails within this 1,800 square foot master plan community, or 1,800 acre master plan community. Again, when the Canyon Trails Town Center came about, that grew to 247 acres of commercial. After the current rezone case, and if this one is approved, There will be 160 acres of commercial remaining, which by my math leaves about 11 additional acres of commercial than were originally planned in Canyon Trails. So effectively, all the multifamily and commercial kind of shifted around and kind of got consolidated at the Canyon Trails Town Center. Additionally, I will note that west of this site, on the opposite side of the freeway, is Arizona State Trust land. There's about 58 acres of land that is currently within the business and commerce land use category, which could ultimately one day be rezoned for multifamily, commercial, business park, or mix of uses. As it relates to other multifamily in the area of Goodyear, between McDowell on the north, future State Route 30 on the south, Perryville on the west, and Bullard on the east, there are 8 established multifamily communities. One of them is for the baseball team, 5 are traditional garden-style apartments, and 2 are single-family rentals. Those are shown in orange. Shown in purple, there are 8 under development or recently completed. 2 of those are garden-style, 6 of those are single-family rental. And shown in yellow, there are 21 zones for multifamily. 9 are likely single-family rental or townhouse style. 9 are likely to be garden style. 2 are part of city center, likely to be rezoned. 1 will be coming here shortly. And 1 is a mix of product, the Anton case that we had not that long ago. Shown in blue, there are 4 with immediate developer interest, and 1 of those 4 shown here. The other one will be shown tonight. I will quickly go over this because I don't believe all of you were here the last time I talked about the 303 and why you're seeing such activity along this corridor. As it relates to Van Buren Street, it will have limited access to and from State Route 303 loop. Southbound will go over the freeway, and the first exit opportunity for southbound 303 is Yuma. Will be a diamond interchange. That's where you have Canyon Trails Town Center, you have Cotton Flower Marketplace, and you have some other commercial corner opportunities. You have 4 corners of effectively commercial at that location. Northbound, you'll be able to exit at Van Buren, and then if you wanted to re-enter the freeway, you'd have to travel the frontage road up to McDowell or points further north. So this intersection from a commercial standpoint does have some limitations, which is why you've seen such an interest in rezoning it to different uses that support commercial in Canyon Trails Town Center. On to this case, the applicant is requesting a zoning change from the current PAD with an underlying zoning of commercial to MF12 with a maximum, which is a maximum of 12 units per acre. And that will have a PAD overlay to facilitate the development of a multifamily community. This would follow the MF12 design guidelines and the zoning criteria, with the exception of those being modified within the PAD overlay. The PAD overlay also caps the unit count at 300 units. So that is a little bit less than 12. It's under 10 units an acre. The use of the PAD overlay is justified as the current development standards for the MF12 do not address some of the unique circumstances found with this site. There's some unique circumstances such as the adjacency to the Arizona State Route freeway, the presence of a large open space between this site and the single family to the east and the condos to the east, adjacency to the developed master plan, and a planned Canyon Trails Cotton Lane Greenbelt Trail, which will continue ultimately if this site is approved and completed from the RID on the north to Lower Buckeye Road on the south and points further south. So let's discuss the PAD overlay on the next slide. Starting with height, I won't go into this too much because you'll remember this from a previous case. This applicant desires to have some pitched roofs here. So with the MF12, you're allowed height for 5-foot parapets. They want to do pitched roofs to match the character of Canyon Trails. To do that, there's a modification in the PAD overlay to count pitched roofs as part of the height. As a note, homes in Canyon Trails are currently allowed, single-family homes are allowed 30 feet of height with pitched roofs. As it relates to setbacks, the PAD overlay would allow the northern rear setback to be reduced from 30 feet to 20 feet. The reason is because this site is going to back up to an existing site that this landowner owns that is also zoned MF12. The intent of the 30 feet was to protect it if it was adjacent to single family, things of that nature. So the request is to reduce that to 20. It also provides clarity on what would happen if this parcel were split into 2 projects, ultimately with the north and south, what the internal setbacks would be. For perimeter units, it's requesting that the perimeter units be allowed a spacing of 10 feet, typical to other multifamily, only on the north and on the section of the property that's adjacent to the RID well site. The other perimeter units would need to maintain a 15-foot separation. Trash enclosures, I won't go on a whole spiel about that, but this requires that trash enclosures be at least 20 feet away from those residential structures. And the PAD overlay also codifies enhanced design guidelines. I'll point out that this was a pre-rendering that the applicant did. In the design guidelines with this PAD, they will be required to have different colors, different color schemes, and a myriad of design elements to make sure that we don't have that gray, or grayest going throughout the city. The PAD overlay also requires additional pedestrian connections and added walkability to the trails and adjacent communities because this is a part of a village center and we want pedestrian connectivity. It also will require a minimum amount of amenities that will be accessible to all units on the site, such as pools, tot lots, things of that nature. And again, the completion of that trail so that these residents are really within a quarter mile, half a mile of Canyon Trails Town Center when you can take a little walk there. At the neighborhood meeting, a resident did voice concerns related to additional housing density along the Loop 303 throughout Canyon Trails. Staff has evaluated the impacts of the minor general plan amendment and proposed zoning to the greater community. And with no major concerns being found, staff recommends you forward an approval recommendation to cause a minor general plan amendment on the land use and transportation map and subsequently rezone the property from Canyon Trails Phase 1 planned area development with an underlying zoning of commercial to MF12 with the PAD overlay subject to the staff report and stipulations. The applicant is here. They do not have a formal presentation. I'm happy to take any questions on the zoning case.
Are there any questions for Christian? I had one regarding the lower density, but this isn't a build to rent option, or is this so it doesn't look like it's built to rent based on the.
I'll make an interesting clarification here. MF12 is just a zoning district. It means that no more than 12 units can be on a property. It's on one property. The property owner could ultimately decide they want to make these condos and sell them. We as a zoning body in the city, we don't dictate whether a single family home on a single lot is rented or sold, and the same with a multifamily. You have some multifamily in this city that are condoed. You have some that are rented. We don't dictate that. From a zoning standpoint, this would limit it to 300 units max and a density of no greater than 12.
So lower density product.
Good.
Still no questions? Questions? Would the applicant like to address the commission?
Actually, he would not. But for your record, my name is Paul Gilbert. I represent Hancock Homes, who are the developers. Kristen does this very thorough, fine job, and I have, unless you have specific questions, I have nothing to supplement except two quick observations. I think this is a pretty easy case to analyze. The property zone commercial, when the commercial was put on there, 1999, it was a whole different element. Now we don't have access that would allow it to be developed as commercial. So then you say, well, if it can be developed as commercial, what's next? The city council in prior hearings that I've attended on other cases have made it very adamantly clear that they don't want single-family homes along the freeway. So that limits what can go there, and what we're proposing, I think, is a good use. We're doing something, too, very unique on this case in that we have a combination of townhomes and the build-to-rent. But, by the way, both are, I wanted to clarify, now proposed to be rental. But the townhomes are a different structure, of course, than the adjacent. So we also had a very delightful neighborhood meeting. We met Barbara and Brian McPhee, who are both here tonight. They kept us there for a long time that evening and asked a lot of questions. We hope we answered all of them, and I would only like to reserve an opportunity to comment on any of their comments if needed in the future. With that, we're very happy with the presentation, and let me also state, importantly for your record, that we agree with all of the proposed staff stipulations.
Thank you, sir. And yes, Christian does a fantastic job showing the graphics and the different places where things are going to be. So Christian definitely deserves a kudos for that. Are there any speaker cards on this?
Yeah.
Oh, no worries.
Oh, I have yours from online. Are you Barbara? Yes. Okay, well then you come on up.
Come on up, Barbara.
I have more questions, Mr. Gilbert.
Oh, you wore me out.
If you would just state your name and address for the record, and you're going to have a set of lights up here at the front.
Lights?
Yeah, there's a red, yellow, green, kind of like a stoplight. Your time will start, I think it's 3 minutes. And the yellow will give a time of a minute left. 20 seconds. So once that yellow light goes off, there's 20 seconds left, and you're off.
Okay, my name is Barbara McPhee. I live at 16850 West Pierce Street. My kitchen window, that development is going to be within a couple 100 feet of my window. Now, there's a greenway, our HOA greenway, between me and there, but I'm thankful for the opportunity to state to all of you, I object. And Mr. Gilbert knows that, obviously. 1,200 units, not just this project, but from Canyon Trails Boulevard to the school, to Desert Thunder School, 1,200 rental units, essentially in my backyard. And I'm willing to bet if any one of you lived in my house and could look out my kitchen window, you might be saying I object too. But I'm also concerned, we haven't seen an economic impact statement. What is this going to do to Canyon Trails 1 and 2 properties? I don't know. It wasn't done, and they don't have it to give to me. I strongly, strongly don't want the reduction in the setback. The reduced perimeter building setbacks on the east only, I got that, but a 30-foot building setback would normally be required along this border. However, given that the directly adjacent land use is 100 to 250 feet wide, there's landscape drainage way, and that's our recreation quarter. That's where I walk my dog and myself sometimes. The reduction in setback to the requested 20-foot minimum would appear to pose no issues on the nearby properties. That's what's in his words. What exactly does pose no issues to nearby properties mean? Can Mr. Gilbert guarantee their 20-foot setback won't affect the landscaping that we pay for, the tree growth, future development that Canyon Trails HOA may have for that area, and visibility to the neighboring properties in Canyon Trails? Because of the density and the plan for only 40% of the homes to have garages, I want to know when they want to decrease the 30-foot setback to 20 feet, will there be open parking in this area? If so, will the asphalt square footage affect plants and trees that we probably are paying for, or their HOA will be paying for? Will it create a heated environment with no cover? Will there be a large parking demand, and who will control the number of vehicles versus the number of spaces available? And we all know in the HOAs around here that don't allow parking on the street, parking is a big deal. Lighting in the corridor between Canyon Trails and the development. You can't just, oh, my time is up. You can't just depend on Canyon Trail lights in the green space. Unlit corridors statistically create opportunities for crime. Will there be nighttime activities? Will there be a perimeter wall? And is that going to be a shared wall? Or just that HOA's wall? I'm almost, well, all right. My fifth question was, how does the contribution and architectural quality of the new homes compare to the construction and materials quality of the existing home in Canyon Trails and Deer Run?
Thank you. Mr. Gilbert, Would you like to respond to some of those questions? Thank you, Barbara.
You knew I was coming.
I prefaced my comments by saying Barbara's comments didn't surprise me. But we like Barbara and Brian, and I'm going to try to answer all her questions. I'm not sure I got them all down, but let me give it a try. And if I don't, be happy to supplement the answers. She indicates that she's going to look out her window and see our project, and that she will. But may I point out that what we're proposing is a lot better than the commercial that could have gone there before. It's a lower height than the commercial that could have gone there before, and it's a less intense use than the commercial that is approved currently now. Secondly, and this is a very important point as we reason together on this project has a general plan designation that allows multifamily density of 16 and above. So we have the opportunity under the current general plan to come in and attempt to change the zoning and put a very dense, high apartment complex on the property. Now, it would take a rezone to do that, but it would be allowed under the existing general plan. So just a couple of quick comments. She's right. We talked to them before the hearing, and she asked if we had an economic impact statement. We don't. I've been doing this for more years than I care to admit. Notice the color of the hair. I've never had an economic impact statement prepared. So all I can do is just generally address that issue, and that is we think the economic impact here will be very salutary over the commercial that is not going to be built there. The owner of the property is here and mentioned to me prior to the hearing that they have, in the 30 years they've owned the property, they have not had one single inquiry for any commercial users. So the impact, I think this is an improvement to the property. It's an improvement over what the zoning now would allow. She's concerned about the setback. Could you put up the site plan? Makes me feel important to give direction to Christian. The site plan, as you see there, the setback we're talking about, the reduction in the setback, is all along the northern border. It doesn't have any effect on where Barbara lives whatsoever. And that setback is 30 feet. We're asking it to be reduced to 20. So it has no effect whatsoever on Barbara, who lives in the project immediately adjacent to us. We also point out that, do you have something that shows that trail that is between the two projects? Let's see, I think I saw that earlier. Maybe not.
It's right here.
There. All right. There is also a trail between our project and the single-family residential project where Barbara lives of 100 feet. So there's a 100-foot additional landscape trail between us and her project. I wasn't sure I quite understood her question on if there's open parking. There will be assigned parking for part of this. There will also be some garages for some of the units here. In the townhome section, every single one of those townhomes will have 2-car garages. So there will be assigned parking. So there will be also some parking that will not be assigned. But I hope that answers her question. She asked about the materials that we were going to use. As Christian pointed out to you, we presented those materials. but they will be reviewed and are not, as I understand, a part of the approval process this evening. So Barbara, you'll have another opportunity to visit with us if you would like, and we can go over the materials, and I will commit to have Andy meet with you and discuss that. So
Or I'll send Andy an email.
please do that.
I can type all my there were 5 questions. I can type them out.
All right, type them out. Be happy to
We just-
talk further.
Let's limit the conversation.
I'm sorry. I know better. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. I apologize. So I think I've answered most of the questions. I'd be happy to entertain any further questions that you may have.
Will your development have access to her development, or is that green belt separate? There will be no
That is
thoroughfare
a
through there.
very good question. If you look at the site plan, there is no projected access between the two. However, the planning staff has asked us to put a gate. That's not a gate for cars,
Walking gate.
but it's only a gate to be used by pedestrians. That gate will have a lock and security on it. So there, I guess, there's some potential because we're required to put that gate in. We'd prefer not to do it. We're not counting on any access to that Paseo walkway. We don't need it. We have a walkway, by the way, all along the east border of our property that we're required to put in, and we didn't mention that as part of our presentation.
Are there any other questions? Thank you, Commissioner.
No. No. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
All
Mr.
right.
Gilbert.
My pleasure.
You may come up and please state your name and address, and you will be given 3 minutes.
I just want another 3 minutes on top of her 3 minutes.
Please, and we'll get you a card so that you can fill out the information.
Oh, okay. Can I do it afterward? Sure. My name is Brian McPhee. I'm also at 16850 West Pierce Street. I want to get back to this economic impact statement. I'm surprised, actually appalled, that the town isn't even asking for this. I mean, I walk my dog and neighbors, the neighbors ask, well, what do you know about these apartments? I'm surprised that they're not here. I have to go back to them and ask and answer, what's going to be the impact on property values. And the fact that the town isn't asking that, I think that's reprehensible. I have my PhD in economics. I'm familiar with, I'm retired from the faculty at ASU. I kind of know what is going on here. I've done these hedonic studies. I was the author of the hedonic study for the Toll Brothers Scottsdale lawsuit back in 2005. I've done these things for New Jersey Transit. All I'm asking is, these apartments, are they going to lower property values or are they not? And to hear, well, we don't think so. I mean, I'm not satisfied with that. I'd like to see some statement made. I'd like to see some analysis done. I did a quick Google search today, and the results seem to be mixed. Some say, no, they don't. Others say, yeah, they do. So I want to know, you're going to put apartments on top of open space. What's that going to do to the property values? That's all I have. She wasn't able to get into it. I would just like to double up on that. So I'll fill out whatever voodoo you do. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Are there any more comments from the audience? All right, with that, is there any discussion? Oh, we have to do discussion afterwards. So I'm going to close the public hearing. Is there any discussion from the commissioners?
I find that kind of interesting in terms of economic impact study. When is it required? Is it commercial? I mean, it is an interesting question. Who's responsible for paying for that? Is this the time to ask for that? In multifamily, I don't know. As a commissioner,
Christopher looks like he's ready to say something.
Staff would like to maybe.
I'd like to.
add to that?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner, thank you for the question. An economic impact study or analysis is not required by the city. It's not an evaluation criteria that is that we are required to follow in the city's ordinances and laws and so forth. So it is nothing that we require with every zoning change or so forth. Sometimes economic impact statements are done by our friends in economic development to understand the impacts of a commercial or industrial type project. But we have not, I've been in this business, as Mr. Gilbert indicated, I'm not as seasoned as he is, but I've been in it a long time when I had hair. And we have never performed, I've never performed one for a residential community either. So I don't think us not requiring it or asking for it is an outlier. I think actually requiring it would be an outlier, if that makes sense. But the fact of the matter is, regardless of the opinion of whether we should or we shouldn't, it is not required by our ordinances currently. So we didn't ask them to prepare something that we don't have a standard for.
Yeah, in my years on the commission, I've never seen one discussed, so I would have to assume that there was none required. So.
Thank you, Chris. My only point that I've seen over the past 9 years so on the commission is I'm typically opposed to putting single-family housing next to highways. I've always been, but we're a place where if I had to choose between industrial versus MF12 in this case, if I was a resident, I would rather look at MF12 than industrial. That's my 2 cents. And I would rather probably deal with residential cars as opposed to trucks in this particular instance. That is my 2 cents, and a better location for probably MF12 than, of course, residential. Or I'm surprised industrial doesn't work well there. Well, I'm not, because of the location of the road, but that was my 2 cents on that. Miss Dillon, is it Miss Dillon?
McPhee, Barbara McPhee.
Sorry, McPhee. Just realize that this is an advisory council and nothing more. We do not make the final judgment in this matter. You will definitely have another opportunity to voice your concerns at the future city council meeting. So please, please, please show up to that and let your worries be known to them. We simply look at the pieces of property and hope that whatever works best for that particular spot. But please make your worries known to the city council. With that, I'm going to end discussion, and may I have a motion and a second on approving item number 21-700-00004.
Mr. Chairman, I so move.
Second.
I have a move to approve and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Oh, Mr. Wang, are you there?
No, I oppose.
What is your vote, Mr. Wang?
I said nay.
Nay, okay. Would it be appropriate to do a roll vote at this point? Thank you.
All right, roll call vote. Commissioner Hamilton.
Aye.
Commissioner Hegedus.
Aye.
Commissioner Booth.
Aye.
Commissioner Wang.
Nay.
Vice Chairman Clymer.
Aye.
Chairman Kish.
Aye.
Vote Passes 5-1.
And Mr. Chairman, just to follow up on your comments about the case moving forward to council, for the information for our residents here, that will be considered at the May 23rd council meeting, which will be here in this room at 6:00 p.m. So you're more than welcome to attend.
I have it on my calendar.
Okay, great.
Thank you for showing up and letting your voice heard. We are so happy you guys showed out and talked about this and shared what was on your mind. That is important. Thank you. Agenda item number 4 is the rezone for Canyon Trails Phase 1. Wait a minute. Am I in the right spot?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Item number 4 is the rezoning for Canyon Trails Phase 1, Unit 6 South. I'm going to open the public hearing. Christian will present.
Same presentation, 2 items. The first one was the minor general plan amendment. Second one is the rezoning case.
Okay, so we're going to roll through the same issue as we did the last one. Staff, is that doing that same thing again? Okay. So, same presentation. Are there any other questions for staff? Okay. Applicant has addressed and made his point clear. Are there any other speaker cards? No. Are any other audience members like to address on this topic? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Can I have a motion and a second for the second part of this item?
I motion to recommend approval of the rezone.
I second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Hegedus and a second from Commissioner Booth. Another roll call vote would be fine. No worries.
Thank you. Roll call vote. Commissioner Hamilton.
Aye.
Commissioner Booth.
Aye.
Commissioner Hegedus.
Aye.
Commissioner Wang.
Aye.
Vice Chairman Clymer.
Aye.
Chairman Kish.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right. Next up is the item number 5, the Ballpark Village North Pad Overlay. I'm going to open the public hearing. It's back up the bat.
Didn't even move.
No pun intended on the bat. I mean,
Up the bat.
oh man. I'll be here all week. Try
I was going to make a Suns joke today, but it should be baseball themed.
It should be.
Well, I'm here before you this evening with a request from William Allison, Richard Hoffman, and Stephanie Watney to conduct a rezoning on a property within the city. To remind you of this property's context within the greater Ballpark Village area, I will show you this map. As you recall seeing this at the last meeting, and you'll remember seeing some cases, I told you that this case would come up this month. So here we are, right here. That's what we're talking about today. In the future, you'll likely see some additional cases, likely in the fall. But now let's talk about Ballpark Village North. This property is approximately 27 acres, and it is located in central Goodyear in the Ballpark Village on the northeast corner of Estrella Parkway and Yuma Road. The property is currently zoned planned area development with an underlying zoning of hospitality, retail, and entertainment. And the property is located in this red area on the map right here. Also, I put this developer depiction of the property here because it really shows you the context of how close it is to the ballpark. This is all land you all have rezoned in the last couple months. Zooming in a closer, you will see that the project is located in red, right here. The parcel is south of the post office and a mixed-use development within Centera, the shops at Serafina. Great pizza shop there, by the way. It's north of the recently rezoned Fulton Homes at Ballpark Village. It is west of multifamily within Centera, the Lunaire Apartments. and it is east of a vacant city-owned parcel. As a note, this property does not fall within the Phoenix Goodyear Airport DNL or noise area. For some history on the property and the zoning in its immediate area, a quick reminder, 2007 Goodyear Ballpark in the Ballpark Village was first zoned. Subsequently in 08, the ballpark was constructed. In 08, this property in particular was zoned as part of City Center Northeast Planned Area Development, again with an underlying land use of hospitality, retail, and entertainment. And if you'll recall from the other zonings in the area, in 2021, the area was redesignated as business and commerce under the general plan and also a village center designation. I did cover this on the last case, but if this property is approved, the numbers will tick up by 2. So the property today we're talking about is right here. The applicant is requesting a zoning change from the current planned area development with an underlying land use of hospitality, retail, and entertainment to C2 commercial for the western 9.8 acres of the site and MF24 for the 17.6 eastern acres of the site with a PAD overlay to facilitate the development of a horizontal mixed-use commercial and multifamily district. As currently envisioned, the property will include a hotel site, commercial retail areas, and traditional garden-style apartments. The use of the PAD overlay is justified as this current development standards of C2 and MF24 on their own do not independently address some of the unique circumstances found within a horizontal mixed-use development, such as the increased density, master site planning, pedestrian connectivity, and the desire to restrict certain less compatible commercial uses that would be found within a mixed-use center. So let's discuss the PAD overlay on the next slide. I'll highlight a few of these, but don't hesitate to ask any questions. If I highlight them all, we'll be here all day. Luckily, the Suns aren't playing tonight. So starting with density and height, the proposed PAD includes a PAD overlay includes an increase to the maximum density of up to 35 units per acre to provide residential within close walking distance of retail within the mixed-use setting. Again, part of the hope is that this higher density will support the retail in the center as well as across the street in Serafina. So we know that center had struggled for some years. Hopefully this would prop it up. The proposed PAD modifies the maximum height in MF24 from what is traditionally 40 feet to 60 feet to allow for a more urban and pedestrian feel. Of note, the current zoning for this property allows building heights of up to 78 feet on the east, or on the western portions of the property, eastern portions of the property, and heights of up to 150 feet on the western portions. So the height of this development, if approved, would be lower than what is permitted here today. Let's talk about C2 uses. As part of the request to add density and a base to support quality retail, the developers agreed to restrict and limit certain types of uses. So and that is to encourage a high quality development that's walkable and supports mixed uses. The developer has agreed to restrict the following uses from their C2 zoning: adult bookstores, adult novelty stores, adult theaters, pawn shops, non-chartered financial institutions, smoke shops, convenience stores, mini storage, RV storage, auto repair, upholstery, service stations, auto convenience, car washes, tire repair, oil shops, and they will limit themselves to no more than one standalone drive-through, even with a special use permit. Additional C2 uses would include one standalone drive-through restaurant limited to the north half of the property as long as it comes with a 250 square foot patio. An additional use that would be allowed is a drive-through restaurant that is attached to or a part of a multi-suite building or connected to shops buildings via a plaza, trellis, or roof line. So I'll pause there. If you think about the Dunkin' Donuts on Estrella, sometimes you forget that it's even a drive-through. There's also by Robex a drive-through in the middle of that shops buildings. Effectively, what this clause is providing for the city is certainty that if they're skipping the special use process, if they bring an additional drive-through, it will come along with shops buildings, so that we don't have a situation like this with a strip of drive-throughs down the street with tire shops, drive-throughs, gas station, etc. For setbacks, the PAD overlay contemplates that the parcel may be further subdivided into additional lots. The side and rear setbacks of the multifamily will be reduced to 15 feet. That is for the internal lots, not the perimeter street lots. This would also require a master site plan be received with the first site plan submittal, so that if they come in with the apartments first, or a hotel first, or retail first, they need to master plan out the entire site and provide where those master pedestrian connections will occur. Parking in this development will be provided through a mix of garages, tandem parking, in the front of garages, covered parking, open parking, and tandem open parking. And in order to provide the city with certainty and assurances on parking and how that will be managed, they will provide a parking management plan, which must be approved with site plan. It will also allow for reduction in parking if that parking plan is approved. That is a very similar clause to things we have in other mixed-use centers, such as the Canyon Trails Town Center, the District, the Estrella Falls area. So other mixed-use centers that have been approved have similar conditions. Private open spaces in MF24 typically require patios, balconies with a minimum aggregates overall square footage of 60 square feet. Within Ballpark Village North, the minimum may be reduced to 40 square feet in order to promote additional connectivity and resident access to adjacent commercial centers. The recreational open spaces, including the Goodyear Recreation Campus, which is about a half a mile away or a quarter mile away, and the Maricopa Trail that this development will be constructing along Yuma Road. In addition, ground floor units that are along Yuma Road, Goodyear Boulevard, will have to have a minimum of 6 pedestrian connections to those sidewalks, and the ground floor patios of those units will have to have connections to the major connections to the street, again promoting residential connectivity to the future retail, the ballpark area, Maricopa Trail, the Bullard Wash, etc. Zoning case will also increase the minimum recreational open space on the site. As a part of that trade-off, they'll go from 400 square feet per unit up to 440 square feet per unit, which is a 10% increase. In order to justify these outdoor spaces and those things of that nature, they also agree to construct, again, the Maricopa Trail, as well as an 8,400 square foot plaza space that will be constructed when the commercial side opens. That 8,400 square foot plaza would be located at Estrella and Yuma at the corner. Example of what that might look like is if you've ever been to Park West on 99th and Northern where the splash pad is and it's very open, that's an example of a roughly 8,400 square feet. PAD overlay also requires additional design enhancements such as colors on buildings, different roof lines, things of that nature. Multiple pedestrian connections, including between the multifamily and the commercial, from the commercial pad buildings to the street and vice versa. And then it also codifies that this will not be just surrounded by a bunch of walls, because what's the point in mixed use if you can't get from the multifamily over, or it's blocked off by the Berlin Wall. So this will codify that view fencing must be used between those developments if they're used for security purposes. The developer will also be required to build the Ballpark Village Gateway Monument at the northeast corner of Estrella Parkway and Yuma. That monument will match the themes of the other monuments which you have seen. It will include an artistic mural that is public facing, and they have agreed to incorporate the theme of wind into that mural, as that was the original city center contemplated theme for the corner. They wanted to respect that committee's work. Touching on commercial, because we all love to eat, I will quickly remind you of this. Within 1/4 or 1/8 of a mile of the site is the ballpark. The ballpark core has 52 acres of ready-to-develop commercial spaces. This site will add an additional nearly 10 acres. That's nearly 60 acres of commercial. That does not count the Serafina shops, which are going to be within walking distance, and this development will include a trail to the Serafina walking mixed-use center. For context, Westgate core is 13 acres if you don't include the parking. Westgate and all the parking lots that are private, it's 59 acres of commercial. Park West at 99th and Northern, that's 47 acres of commercial. Scottsdale Quarter, my favorite, is 28 acres. So in this area, we have commercial available, not even counting the city-owned parcel that is rivaling Scottsdale Quarter ×2. And if you're a developer listening, if this is approved tonight, that is nearly 4,200 units in the Ballpark Village area, and we are hungry and ready for you to bring retail. To date, the city has not received any resident opposition, just general inquiries. However, residents did state that they support mixed use and connectivity. They also voiced concern if potential future rezoning cases in the area were largely walled off and did not have pedestrian cut-throughs. Staff has evaluated the impact of this proposed zoning to the greater community, and with no major concerns being found, staff recommends you forward an approval recommendation to rezone the property to a planned area development zoning district with an underlying zoning of C2 on the western 9.8 acres of the property and 17.6 acres of MF24 on the eastern portion of the property with a PAD overlay, titled Ballpark Village North Development Regulations C2 and MF24 with PAD overlay, as dated in April of 2022, subject to the staff report and stipulations. Applicant is here. They can speak if you have any questions, but I'm happy to speak on the zoning.
Thank you, Christian. Are there any questions for Christian?
Good job.
Excellent. This is starting to feel a little bit like a Westgate kind of
Starting
feel.
to come together, right?
I think it's very cool. I'm excited to see what kind of commercial goes in next to that proposed hotel. I think that's going to be really neat. Awesome. Would the applicant like to address?
Good afternoon, Adam Baugh, 25 East Arizona Biltmore Circle. First of all, Christian did a home run job.
I like it.
I just want to follow the puns because I thought you did a great job with the at-bat. I don't need to add much. I just want to say that when this site was intended in Zone 2008, it was intended to be a city complex, future city hall, and that area has changed. And I think the wisdom of working together with staff has led us to a point that creates energy. What I like about representing HTW in this property is they build this product. They built this at the Met, which is next to Chandler Mall, where they have the retail in the front, the hotel, and the multifamily behind. So they know how to bring these components together. And I think with the help and support from staff, we've been able to tinker it and tailor it and improve our open spaces so it's more walkable, more connected. And I think more importantly, to Christian's credit, it's helped us steer us in a way that provides these plazas and opportunities. So it's a little bit of a longer retail opportunity other than just a quick get in and get out. And with the proximity of the ballpark nearby, I think that's precisely the type of retail you'd want to have in that area. So I'll be brief tonight and happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Are there any questions for the applicant?
No, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Excellent. Are there any speaker cards on this? Any from the audience? No? All right. I will close the public hearing. May I have a motion and a second?
I so moved. I second.
I have a motion by Vice Chairman Clymer and a second from Commissioner Hamilton. Any commission discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, guys. Looking forward to that project. Christian, thank you so much.
Thank you, Christian. Great job.
Now to our favorite part of the evening, once a month. Any staff communication?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You're referring to the end of the meeting?
I was not saying
Yeah.
that. No.
Just give you a recap of the cases that you considered at your April 6th meeting that cascaded to the April 18th council meeting. There was the rezoning that's just a little bit south for Fulton Homes, a little bit south of the property we just considered there at that northeast corner of Yuma and Australia Parkway. That 156 acres of the Fulton Home project, if you remember, wraps around the ballpark a little bit. Council approved that. There was a use permit for the Chipotle at Canyon Trails that was likewise approved. And then the zoning ordinance text amendment for drive-throughs that Steve presented last month. We had some late-breaking inquiries from the McDonald's Corporation. And so we actually paused that at the council meeting, met with McDonald's and some other stakeholders based on some additional information that they provided. And thanks to Steve's leadership, we we have some revisions to that ordinance or the proposal that I think is actually better than what it was before. So we are in the process of re-advertising that, and that will come back to you June, right, Steve? So it'll be at your June meeting. and then go to council at the end of June. So what that will do is it talks about queuing and things of that nature for drive-throughs, so there's some standards there. And then it also eliminates the use permit requirement, so you won't be seeing drive-throughs and moving forward in the future.
That's right.
But we did end up in I think, a better, more informed place as a result of their collaboration with us, and we appreciate that. And I think it was a good process. So we're in a good spot. So with that, Mr. Chairman, that's, sorry, I almost neglected to admit. You see a new face here, and sitting next to Alyssa. This is Nicole Blainer. She just joined our department as well. So Alyssa has a team. If you remember, there was Laura last month and Nicole this month. So they're learning, which is fabulous because we, unfortunately, sometimes Alyssa actually goes on vacation. So she may miss a meeting here or there. No, and so it's important for other people to grow and learn and be able to step up. And so we're really happy to have Nicole. She transferred over to our department from fire because she knows we're the real deal, not the fire department, right? That'll get me in some hot water. That'll get me in some hot water, I'm sure, but nevertheless. But we are happy to have her and delighted. She's very talented and looking forward to all her contributions. So with that, Mr. Chairman, that's all we have. Thank you.
And we're really looking awesome at that, the project over by the ballpark. Is there any bites on commercial or any other movement on how that's shaping to be, or is it kind of like if we build it, they will come type of?
So that's a great question. As a matter of fact, Katie and I were just discussing it a little bit earlier, and this is not on the agenda, so I don't want our city attorney friend to cut me off. So what Katie and I were actually talking about doing is in the somewhat near future, having an agenda item to give you an update about all the activity that's going on around there.
Awesome.
The city has acquired some additional property around the ballpark. So actually the city owns pretty much all of the vacant property immediately around the ballpark. And we're envisioning and visioning right now about what that could be. And we're going to be going to do a market study in order to understand what the market will support. Because as Christian pointed out in his presentation, there's 4,000 residential units that are coming in that area. So there's a lot of opportunity that maybe might not have been there a couple of years ago. So we're doing our best to advance that. And when the time is right, as soon as we get a little bit more informed about what the possibilities are and what can be supported, we're going to come back to you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. The next Planning and Zoning Commission meeting will be held on June 15th at 6 p.m. at the Goodyear Municipal Court in Council Chambers. There being no further business to discuss, this meeting is adjourned.